I always knew there was something about Jack, my grandfather, that my mother didn't want me to know. She rarely spoke about him, except in bitter tones, and when she did, it always ended with her slamming cabinets or leaving the room. When I was about 8, I asked my dad why she hated him so much, and he told me the story in a quiet, almost embarrassed voice. Jack had been married to my grandma, Kathy. From what I heard, they were happy once, until Jack had an affair. It wasn't just a fling. It was long and messy, and when Kathy found out, it broke her. She couldn't handle the betrayal, and one day, she took her own life. That's when my mom cut him off completely. For years, Jack tried to reach out. Letters, cards, birthday gifts, all went unanswered. But when I turned 8, my mom finally caved. Maybe it was the way I begged her, or maybe Dad talked her into it, but she agreed to let me visit Jack. She didn't come with me, though. She wouldn't even drive me there. Dad did. Jack lived out in the desert, surrounded by dry, cracked earth and the sharp scent of sagebrush. His house was small, almost like a cabin, but inside it was like a different world. The walls were covered with paintings, landscapes, faces, places I didn't recognize. He smelled like Old Spice and turpentine, and his voice had this scratchy warmth to it, like an old record player. "Do you hate Grandma?" I asked him once in that blunt way kids do. Jack paused, looking down at me like he was seeing something far away. "I never loved any woman as much as I did Kathy," he said, his voice slow and sad. "Except your mother, of course. But love doesn't always mean happiness. I guess I wasn't strong enough to stay unhappy, and I wasn't brave enough to tell the truth." He showed me his studio, a small sunlit room filled with canvases, paints, and brushes. He let me help him paint a big landscape. My strokes were clumsy, and I smeared more paint than I used, but he never painted over my mistakes. Instead, he turned them into part of the picture, made them beautiful somehow. "Are you going to come visit again?" he asked as we packed up the brushes. "I want to," I said, "but only if Mom says it's okay." Jack's face went red. His mustache twitched like a porcupine bristling up. "Your mother has no right to keep you from me. You're my family, and I'm not going to let her ruin that. You tell her that, okay?" I didn't tell her. Not exactly, but I begged to visit again, and eventually she gave in. Every couple of months, Dad would drive me out to see Jack. Jack was obsessed with portraits. "A good portrait shows who someone is," he told me once. The wrinkles, the scruff on his chin, the look in his eyes, but a great portrait, that shows more about the artist than the subject. You can't help but pour yourself into it. Jack had a gallery in his house, a whole wall dedicated to self-portraits, one from every year. The early ones showed a lively man with a wide smile, eyes sparkling with mischief. But as the years went on, his face seemed to sag, the smiles became rare, and the eyes looked tired, haunted almost. "Why do you look so sad in these?" I asked once when I was 13. He gave me a crooked smile. "Don't worry. I'll paint a happy one when your mother forgives me." I told my mom that. She just shook her head and muttered, "He'd be better off figuring out how to decorate hell." By the time I was 19, the visits had become less frequent. Life got in the way, school, friends, work. But one summer, I finally went to see him. That day, Jack was different. He seemed smaller, older. His hands shook a bit as he poured us glasses of iced tea. "Come see my new piece," he said, almost excited. It was another self-portrait, but this one was off. His face was lined and sharp, almost carved like a statue. His cheeks were hollow, and his mouth drooped at the corners. But the most unsettling part, his eyes were missing. Just blank, smooth skin where they should have been. "Where are your eyes?" I asked, staring at the empty sockets. "Right behind my glasses, silly," he chuckled, tapping them. "But why didn't you paint them?" He didn't answer me. He just turned back to the canvas, staring at it like it was telling him something only he could hear. That was the last time I saw him. Jack passed away a few weeks later. At his funeral, they displayed his last self-portrait, the one without the eyes. People whispered about how strange it was, how lifeless it seemed. I stood there, staring at the blank canvas, feeling a chill run down my spine. I remembered what he said about great portraits, how they show more about the artist than the subject. As I left the room, I couldn't shake the feeling that Jack had been painting his soul all along, and by the end, there just wasn't anything left to show. Mom stood next to me, her arms crossed, her eyes narrowed at the painting. For a long time, she didn't say a word. Finally, she muttered, almost too soft to hear, "Maybe he finally found peace." I wasn't so sure.